Welcome everyone back to I Want to Teach English. I'm Jose Torres, and this channel is dedicated to teachers who work with ESL, English language learners, multilingual learners. You know, the acronyms keep updating, but they're English language learners for all intents and purposes, and this channel is dedicated to that. But sometimes we do get teachers who work with different content areas, and we welcome them as well. And today I have a special guest. I'm going to bring them on here in a second to talk about some really exciting stuff that's happening. I think as a teacher, when I hear about some of the innovations that are coming down the pike, I get really excited because I really start thinking about my lessons going forward and how my teaching styles and my teaching methods will be influenced by technology. And I think, and I've said this before in other videos, teachers need to evolve. We need to kind of get with new tech that's coming out and use that to our advantage to help our students learn English more efficiently. So I will bring these wonderful guests on here in a second. But before I do, please do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please hit that subscribe button, become a part of this channel. It's really just about growing this channel and getting the word out there, and really to kind of continue to bring this content to fellow teachers, colleagues, and educators all around the world. So thank you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to Leo and Rebecca Salazar. Welcome to I Want to Teach English, and it's great to have you on, guys.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you
Pleasure
for
to
having
be on
us.
it.
Now, Leo, last time I spoke with you, and I think Rebecca had to go to a meeting, and she was away for a few minutes, and we weren't able to. She wasn't able to be part of the conversation. But one of the things I think that you and I shared in common from that conversation is our parents have a huge part in the trajectory that we've taken in our professional lives. Is that a fair statement to say?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your parents and how you came to be where you are now.
Yeah, so I was born in Mexico City, came to the United States when I was 5. My mother, brought us here not knowing any English and worked several or multiple jobs just to get us through, but had a very hard time finding the resources to learn English, to find better jobs, and to, get us to push everybody forward. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
I could totally relate. When you were telling me that story, I could really relate because my parents are the same. My father came from Mexico, but my mother was born in Texas. But Texas used to be part of Mexico, right?
Right.
But anyway, so it was always like for them, they always used to talk about they want to take English classes, but they work so much. And, my father and mother worked a lot. We were migrants, so we moved around a lot from state to state. I was the last of the brood, but by the time I was born, we were already in Florida, which is hot all year round. But to make a long story short is that was something that I think my mother instilled in me is that, when you have the opportunities, go for it. For her, it wasn't that wasn't the situation for her. So, but at least before, she left this world, I did publish a book. I did dedicate it to my parents because it was something they wanted to do so much. And I think that brought her a lot of joy knowing that her son was able to do that. I'm curious about your parents, though, Leo, about your trajectory. Were they proud of you in that sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I had 2 other siblings. I mean, she worked a lot to get us through. She said, I want y'all to do whatever you want in life, but you have to graduate college, right? So I have a sister that got a doctorate. The other one had a master's, and I have a bachelor. So we all did our college thing. So that was, I appreciate her effort in pushing us forward in that sense.
And the reason why I bring up our parents is because this is something that's very personal to us. But in the sense, what we do in our professional lives, I think, is really something that our parents and that history kind of motivates. Why I became an English teacher for people learning English, and I see the struggles and I see how difficult it is. I think in your profession, and you can talk about your profession if you'd like, Leo, and Rebecca, feel free to chime in as well. But how important is it really? Because I can speak to this about my parents, how sometimes they were, kind of like not ashamed, but they were kind of like reluctant to talk sometimes to English speakers because their English was so broken. How important is it in business, especially in America, to speak English perfectly?
It's huge. Speaking English properly, and not just the accent, but just speaking it properly and understanding it. It's huge because if you don't, it limits you. It limits your growth. It limits your ability to get better jobs, to live a better life almost. Um, so it's key. Even though everybody's multilingual and you could get by in the professional workspace, it's almost still looked down upon if you don't have that proper English, right? So when you go to a job interview, when you sit in front of a professional or you're a next level, you want to be as best as you can. So you got to learn that the language as best as possible to have the better odds of getting a job or to, whatever it is that you're trying to work on.
Rebecca, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it really builds the confidence. And I think that's what we lack when we're not confident. We can't move to the next level. And so building that confidence, it gets them to a really great level that they can go and explore other things that maybe they didn't think they were capable of. So it gives them that growth that they need, not only professionally, but personally. I think that's just, a goal that everybody wants to be better than what they were before, or their family or anybody else. They want to achieve something bigger.
It's interesting as you're speaking. I just triggered something in me that I was in the Midwest recently, and I was at this conference, and I'm watching this. I'm in this presentation, and this woman who was a professor at one of the universities there. I think it was Kansas or something, and she gave the most eloquent presentation, and I was just so impressed with the information that she presented. I actually feel like it actually changed I did this paradigm shift in my mind as a teacher. It affected me that much, but she had a very thick accent. And in spite of the fact that she spoke everything perfectly, and we talked about this, she talked about this during her presentation. She says, I wish, in some ways, I do wish that I could speak it perfectly because the words are there, the thoughts are there, everything is aligned perfectly. But for whatever reason, when she articulates it, she has that Slavic accent or whatever country that she's from. But she did everything marvelously. It didn't change how I felt about the presentation at all. I still thought it was incredible. But I think we live in a society though where if you do have a thick accent like that, I think people have some preconceived notions about, and they could be misguided, of course, but it's a stigma, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And to piggyback on Rebecca's, it's the confidence, right? Because you already have that stigma, it's there. So it's always attacking you, that you're attacking your confidence anytime you go out in public or you try to speak with somebody. So it's always in the back of your mind every time.
I think some of it, comes back around to culture. I speak to this a lot in presentations I give, and even to my students. And when they're like about the whole issue of connecting with language, infusing it that closely, it's really a matter of culture. I say culture and language cannot be separated. They cannot. And this goes to regional accents. If somebody's talking with that twang, they could be saying everything perfectly, but the accent is telling you where they're from, right? Or if they get the New York accent or whatnot. So these subtleties in the language are part of the culture. You can tell the culture just by the way people talk, and I think that they may feed into some of these stigmas that people have, in that they hear an accent, they're like, oh God, here we go. It could be completely off base, but that's just the reality of the world we live in.
I agree. Yep.
So let me ask you this, and this is a loaded question, so if you want to sidestep, I understand. But do you think that public schools right now are addressing this issue? Do you think it's important to them? Because it's important to students, clearly. So is it important to the schools, in your opinion?
I would say we can't say it for all schools, but like my mom was an ESL teacher. So there may be some schools that it is more important than others to help those students learn English and prepare them for their continued education and prepare them for professional life later. So I can't say that, all schools are not focused on that, but there are definitely some schools out there that are. And like Mike said, my mom was an ESL teacher back in the day. She retired a few years ago, but it was something important for them.
And I was an ESL student when I was in elementary.
Yeah.
So I had my ESL classes here in Texas. So I think in Texas, I think it is something important.
Well, here's the thing. As an ESL teacher, I can speak to this, right? It is something that's high on everyone's list of importance, but sometimes we lack the resources and we lack, sometimes we just don't have the proper tools to work with. It could be an issue of working with an overcrowded school. It could be we could be working with complete newcomers, and you have, maybe teachers that are in their first couple of years of teaching and they're not quite there yet, So there's a lot of variables. I think schools in general, public schools, they have the right mindset. They certainly have their heart in the right place, and they want to do the right thing and help these students get to that next level on their proficiency, skills. But they lack certain tools. And as I said in my little intro, as teachers, we need to evolve because technology is moving fast. And I think teachers are still trying to get caught up with a lot of it. We're still antiquated in the, working out of books and, pulling stuff and wiping the dust off of it. But really, we have so many new tools coming down the pike, I think, that are going to help elevate our game as teachers. So maybe schools need to be looking at that. But maybe they're not even prepared for that because they don't even know what's coming yet because a lot of this stuff is brand new. And so that's probably where schools are, I think, in my guesstimation. If I were a betting man, I would say they're probably eyeing a lot of different tech right now.
Absolutely.
I agree. Yes, they're looking at tools that have worked in the past, but they're not looking forward to see what can we do to change to make it better and more effective in our teaching.
Sure. And to their defense, I mean, maybe it's materialized yet. So we definitely, there's a lot of room for improvement, right? Going forward, I think we're all looking towards, the tech world, the advancements through AI. I use AI now more than I did even last school year. So it's something that's happening, and it's happening so fast. And really, I'm very optimistic about where this is going.
Same here. It's growing every week. It's something new with AI.
So let me ask you guys this. I know education is not necessarily your forte, but what does the future look like in your guesstimation? What does the future look like for language learning? And like, if I were to ask you to take out your crystal ball, that proverbial crystal ball, how do you envision language learning in the future? Just being who you guys are.
I simply said, we as humans, we learn through repetition. There's no other way for us humans to learn if we're not repetitive on something. So we have to repeat, practice. So it's got to be a tool that you have that's available that you could practice until you master that. And then you master that level, go to the next level and keep going. So it's going to be a tool that allows you to practice. It's going to keep you accountable and also grade you at the same time to let you know how you've improved or what error you've made.
Would you like to add to that, Rebecca?
Yeah, I was just.
I kind of read your facial expression. Go ahead.
Well, technology is fantastic. There's so many advantages to that. I do see that teachers are still very important in this space. Someone's going to learn from someone who is an expert. And while AI and technology can help, with certain parts of that, I think a teacher having experience and being able to say, hey, you're doing a great job, where maybe AI and technology is looking for perfection. We're not going to be perfect. We may not be able to overcome every single language barrier, but a teacher can help you determine where you stand and to tell you, hey, you're doing a great job and you're moving forward, and I see and hear improvement.
And give it that human touch.
and give it the human touch that I think we all still need.
It's essential, really. I don't think there's any getting around it. There's something that AI can't really substitute is the human experience. You know, when you like, for example, I in this school year, I'm starting to connect with a couple of students who, you know, they have all kinds of issues, but they look to me like they're their surrogate uncle or something like of that effect. And that's a connection, a personal connection that I'm making with students that I'm sorry, but an AI robot can't do. It's not like they can't offer something that students can't use and utilize. I mean, there's obviously a lot that the tech world and artificial intelligence can offer, even if it doesn't have that personal touch, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
They're just tools, like machines. Which brings us to how you guys are on my show to begin with, which is talking about Scripttrainer. Please, Leo and Rebecca, feel free to explain to me and explain to the audience why you guys are here, and tell us about script training. What is that all about? Scripttrainer.
Absolutely. So by trade, I'm a real estate agent, and I needed a way to learn scripts. And the only way to learn a script is to role play with somebody. Couldn't find anybody to role play with. It's very difficult. You don't take it serious. It just doesn't work. Role playing it's very outdated. So I came up with an idea of practicing with your computer, with software, instead of replacing that person and role playing with the software. So we kicked the idea around, took it to a couple developers, got a test going, and it worked, and it worked on several people. People liked it. So we started growing it, and finally came to a friend that asked us to show her Scripttrainer. And she worked for adult education. And she said, you know what? Adult education would benefit so much from this tool, from the software that y'all created. And light bulbs just started going off in our heads. And we're like, you know what? We didn't think about that. So now we have a tool where educators are able to hyper-contextualize a lesson, upload it to Scripttrainer, and have their students practice the lesson these students are learning that day. So it's like having the teacher in your pocket. If the teacher is teaching you something on the board that day, they can go home that evening and practice that same lesson. And then it's going to be recorded and then reviewed by the teacher.
So are you saying that a teacher, let's say in my class and my students and I are practicing the conversation, are you saying that I could upload the conversation that I'm working on with my students, as transcripts, if you will, upload it to this Scripttrainer program, and they will be able to converse with this AI?
In real time, it's going to be like speaking to a person.
And this was recorded, and then I will be able to get access to that recording, and then I can grade it based on the performance of the students. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Wow, that's pretty fantastic. It's almost like having a teacher there 24/7.
Absolutely. And
without having to pay sub pay or teacher pay.
Right. So when we did our research and development in ESL, we actually went to classrooms and we sat there and listened to the teacher and how she educates her class or how she's giving her class. She doesn't have the time to listen to each individual student. If one student is having a problem pronouncing a certain word, or he's too shy to say it out loud, repeat what the teacher's saying, she can't hear that student or help that student if she doesn't know he's having a problem. So here, with using Scripttrainer, now she's able to listen to everybody individually, practice their lessons, and then, hey, you need help with pronunciation of this word or this letter, or et cetera. And that's what helps the students overcome the lack of confidence that they get because they can't pronunciate certain words. And that's how you improve and get better.
This is so fascinating to me in that you didn't set out to do this. You were trying to do something to improve your workforce in real estate. and somehow you end up in an adult ESL classroom. That's fascinating to me. That blows my mind.
And Rebecca's mom being an ESL teacher, ESL back in kindergarten, and my mom.
It's like the stars on the planets aligned for you on this one.
Absolutely.
Well, that is incredibly fascinating to me. As a teacher, just hearing that on its face sounds very, very intriguing. I would very much like to get my hands on something like that and try it out. Tell us a little bit more, like because I don't think you've rolled out a working model yet. Am I correct?
It is working. We're piloting with several ESL classes here in Austin, and we're almost just about done. So probably the beginning of the year is when we're going to open up the floodgates to everybody and help as many people as possible.
So is there a way for ESL teachers who are watching this right now going, they're scratching going, I wonder what this looks like. Is there a place, a website or something they can go to see your progress, or at least hear like updates on how it's going?
We do have a LinkedIn where we'll post most of it, but our website is actually getting worked on right now. Our homepage or landing page, it's getting worked on as we speak, which is going to explain in more or less detail what Scripttrainer is about. And there'll be a contact us link there to set up a meeting. That way we can explain the program to them. And
do a demo and show you in deeper discussion on what it's going to provide. Yeah, just to give you a quick other example, talking to my mother when I switched over to ESL, and I told her, look, we're working on this. And she said, if I only had this product back in the day, I'm talking back in early 80s, when we moved from Mexico here, and she had to get her citizenship, and she had to practice the questions. Well, nobody in our household spoke English for her to practice her citizenship questions. So again, with our software, you put in the questions, you're working one-on-one, with our software as a role-playing partner to understand or to better yourself with these citizenship questions. Yeah. And then you have your teacher who's there to support you from behind the scenes and tell you, where you need to focus on, what you need to improve.
I think that's a very good caveat, Rebecca, because I think a lot of teachers, although we're very optimistic and we're hopeful about products such as yours, there's always that little nagging voice in the back of our head is like, how long before they start replacing teachers too? But no, I think we're very much a part of the process, according to
Yep. That's where we go back, where technology is great, but we really need the human touch, because those teachers have the expertise that they can, provide to the students to help them.
Well said. Well said. Leo and Rebecca, I'm rooting for you 100%. Consider me part of your cheerleading squad. I hope you guys succeed incredibly in this venture, and that you have much, much, much greater than you could ever expect, that your expectations, and just exceed all your expectations. And, your success is very important to the people in my field.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any last words before we sign off?
No, just grateful to be in your platform and the opportunity to share Scripttrainer with everybody. So yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a link in the description where you can find Leo and Rebecca on LinkedIn, and any other contact information that Leo will share with me after. It'll also be in the description of this video. Please like this video, share it with others, share some love with Leo and Rebecca. And if you're on LinkedIn, maybe you can send them a little request. Maybe they'll accept you. I don't know how many people you want to have on your request there, list there, Leo and Rebecca. But hey, more power to you any way you go. Just incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you guys for joining us on I Want to Teach English. And until next time, God bless.